after Mishnah 13 of the third parak. So as Rav Chanina, this is the third Mishnah, the next Mishnah of Chanina ben Dosa. So Hu Haya Omer, Kol Sheruach HaBriot Nochach Hemenu. Anyone that the Ruach of the Briot, that the spirit of people is pleased with, right? Ruach HaMakom Nochach Hemenu. The Spirit of God is also pleased with. It doesn't say anyone, it says the kind of person that the better part of people likes. Right? You know, there's plenty of guys that are popular with goofballs. You know, they're popular with scoffers and mockers and jerks, and that's not the guy we're talking about. We're talking about the guy that upstanding, normal, nice, kind, happy, well-adjusted people look at him and they just love him. Right? That you enjoy. I mean, you enjoy being around him. You enjoy listening to him. You enjoy talking to him. He's a nice guy. So as a person who's a nice guy, then the Spirit of God is also pleased with him. If people like him, God likes him. This is another one of those kind of rule of thumb. You know, what are we doing all this for? What are you trying to get at? Right, Mishnayot. Right? And then he says, V'kol she'ein ruach habriot nochach hamenu, and anyone that the spirit of people is not pleased with, ein ruach hamakom nochach hamenu. God's not happy with him either. Right? This is a Mishnah that's really, really good to use with your children sometimes. Right? That especially, or people, friends of yours, that are so focused on, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be diligent, that we shouldn't be strict and stringent and machmir, but you can become so focused on chumras, right, that you forget to be focused on why are you doing the chumras? What's it supposed to be turning you into as a person? You know, it's interesting when you watch your older children trying to impose chumras on your younger children, right? It's like, and stringencies, and there's a craziness. I mean, you see people who are very, very religious, very, very orthopractic, but they're just nasty pieces of work, right?
Missing the boat.
I'm sorry?
Missing the boat.
Right, they're mean, and they're grumbly, and they're grumpy, and they're, right? We talked before, ayin hara. You know, part of ayin hara is that you just look at the world as a nasty place. People can become so tight and so persnickety. People just can't stand being around you. And it says you should know, just again as a rule of thumb, if you become the kind of person that people just can't stand being close to, Hashem has probably got issues with you right now too. Right? You know, we talked before, you know, the five students of Yochanan ben Zakkai, and the third one, what's his praise? Right? It says, Haroa, I mean, that his Ashriel Dato, right? That his mom is praised as his mom. You know, his mom is thrilled with him. Right? It's hard because we go through halacha that the Greek version of learning is to hear interesting and deep philosophical ideas. The Jewish idea of learning is to hear ideas that change the nature of who you are. That's why the Mishnah we just saw last week says, a person whose fear of sin exceeds his wisdom, then his wisdom will last. But if his fear of sin doesn't exceed his wisdom, the wisdom will go away. Right? A person whose deeds exceed his wisdom, then his wisdom will last. But if his wisdom exceeds his deeds, again, his wisdom will fade. That chachma, that your understanding of truth and justice and connection to Hashem and all the learning that you're doing, if it's not moderated by a certain level of terror, that your actions can destroy things and destroy people, and it's supposed to be motivated by, there's actual consequences to what I do, and if I blow it, I'm hurting myself and other people, I'm destroying stuff. Right? And it has to be something you act on. Right? This whole idea is we're not learning just so that we hear interesting ideas. Right? We're not hearing so that we can have covered pages. You know, I mean, there's a downside that we're becoming as a culture of covering pages. Right? There's nothing, again, I'm not trying to come out against learning, but it's not a question of, you know, I mean, Rabbi Meyer spoke just a couple of nights ago, and he said the problem, someone asked a question specifically about their kid who has gone through, you know, decade and a half now of learning, but no one's ever really taught Musar to them. No one's ever really taught behavior to them. It's like, you know, the guy's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages under his belt, but no real understanding of Jewish philosophy. You know, it's a difficulty. It's one of the reasons I like this material. It's just like, you know, there's no, again, if this is all you do, and you never learn halacha, and you never learn Gemara, and you never learn Torah, it's also a mistake. But it's supposed to be leavened with giving yourself and your kids some understanding of what we're doing here. Right? So rule of thumb. And again, this doesn't mean you can just be a lights on and a goof off and you don't have to learn anything. And if you're totally wasting your life, then God's going to still have trouble with you. But as a rule of thumb, he says, because the last one says, if your wisdom your learning has to be trumped by your fear of sin, by your deeds. So he takes it farther and he says, be the kind of person that people love. If you're the kind of person that people love, that's a good rule, a good mnemonic device or measure to say, God probably loves you too. And if you're the kind of people that just people hate, no one can stand being around you because you're just mean and cheap and nasty and bitter, you're not getting there. Those mitzvot that are there to refine you are clearly not working in your case because you're still just a nasty old curmudgeon. So that's our Mishnah.